Hi and welcome to OnClick Studio. In today's video, we'll be seeing the top 5 Unity tips that will be really helpful for a new Unity developer. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, please smash the like button. That will be really helpful.
Welcome to OnClick Studio. Let's start making games.
First in the list is your own custom method, which will be called onSceneLoad. And you can do that by adding this runtime initialization onLoad parameter on top of your method. So here we have a custom class which is not derived from mono behavior, so it's just a C# class, but you need to have the namespace using Unity Engine, and the method should be a static method. So it doesn't do anything, it just prints a debug log which says after scene is loaded and the game is running. You don't have to attach the script to any game object. As you can see here, it is just an empty scene and the script is not attached to any game object. And when I play the game, the function is called and the message is printed. So if you want to create any object on scene load, then you can use this technique to do that. And if you want to do something before the scene loads, then you just have to add one more parameter to it. So it's a simple modification. You just have to add a parameter, and the parameter is runtime initialize load type before scene load. Then this function is called before the scene is loaded, and if this parameter is not there, then the function is called after the awake method. Tip number 2 is about UI button. So I've added a button and a cube to a scene. So I want to disable the box collider of the cube on button press. So the conventional way any new developer does is they create a C# script with a public function. Then they connect the function to the OnClick event of the button. So that is actually not required because you can directly connect the game object cube to the button, and you can browse and find the box collider, and you can just say bool enabled, and if you check this box, then the box collider will be enabled, and if you leave it unchecked, then the box collider will be disabled. So now we have this, and if we play the game, and you can go to the cube and see that the box collider is enabled, and if we press the button, the box collider is disabled. So you don't have to go in and write a complete code for disabling a game object or disabling a component. You can just drag and drop it to the OnClick event and use the parameters that are available. You can also do this for enabling gravity on rigid body, making a rigid body into a kinematic rigid body. So there are many ways you can use this technique. It is totally up to you how you want to use it. The next tip is about Unity Inspector window. So I have a script attached to my cube here, and the script is basically having two variables, one public variable and a private variable. So the public variable is called timer and the private variable is called time, and the private variable time is incremented by 1 every frame, and the public variable timer is incremented by 2 every frame. Now if you want to see these values in the Unity editor, the public variable is displayed in the inspector. To see the private variable, generally we use a debug.log. Unity provides a way to see that value in the inspector window. You just have to put the inspector window in debug mode. So click on the three dots here and select debug. So when you go to debug, you will be seeing a lot more parameters than what your normal inspector window will display. So now you can see that the private variable is also visible, but you cannot edit the value, but still the value is visible. So now if you play the game, the actual value at runtime is also displayed. So if your aim is just to see the value of the private variable, then you can use the inspector debug mode rather than using a debug.log. You can come back to the normal mode by clicking on normal, and you can also have two inspector windows, one in the debug mode, one in the normal mode. So you can just go and say add tab and inspector. So this inspector will be in the normal mode and the debug one will be in the debug mode. The next tip is also about Unity Inspector. So generally when you try to assign a material, you select the game object and you browse for the material, and by the time you try to drag and drop the material, you see that the inspector has changed to the property of some other game object. So if you don't want that to happen, there are two ways to do it. One is select the game object and click on the log button here. So this locks the inspector. No matter what game object you select, the inspector still remains on the game object you first selected. And then you can just assign it and then unlock it. The other way to do it is just select the game object, right click and click on properties. So this will open a custom inspector which is only for the game object that you have selected. The next and final tip is about the instantiate function. So whenever you try to instantiate a game object and then you have to get a component of it, for example, you want to instantiate a projectile. So we have the projectile prefab, which is a public game object. We'll be assigning it to it. When we instantiate, we are basically setting it to spawn projectile so that we can access the game object. Then we are getting the rigid body component using the get component function, and then we apply the add force. Now you can basically skip this part by directly assigning the rigid body to the instantiate function. Unity's instantiate function has a property to take in the component and spawn the game object to which the component is attached. So rather than doing public game object, you can just say public rigid body, then you can assign it to a rigid body. So in that case, you will not require this rigid body here, and you don't require the get component function, and you can directly assign your spawn projectile and add force. Doing it this way, you're avoiding the get component call, and if the projectile is spawned multiple number of times inside your Unity game, then this is going to be very performance expensive, and doing it this way will be beneficial for you. So that's it for the tips. Hope you liked them. See you in the next tutorial.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share.